and gentlemen,
with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman, talk today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us on another magnificent Monday's edition of Talk Today, as we invite you to start off things with our good friends from Cayman Enterprise City. We're going to talk to you about a lot of things. I might even attempt a joke. You want to know what that is? You might even laugh. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And good afternoon and welcome. And I'm so grateful to be able to have the distinct pleasure, the privilege. It truly is an honor to sit, sometimes facilitate, learn. And even if it's only me laughing, at least, there's joy in my spirit. Well, Mr. Alyssa Anderson, good afternoon to you, Mom. How are you?
Good afternoon, Sterling. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I am. Listen, even if I wasn't, I would say that I am. Because,
Yes.
it's a promise of what tomorrow brings. Hopeful expectation.
Yes.
But thank God. And, through you, I was excited to look at the notes to see the discussions that we have, to see the unfolding landscape relative to the ability to access so much, to offer a local populace the opportunity to see, dream, and sometimes realize things that they may thought was only possible elsewhere.
Right.
And to be connected, grounded here, but to have the world, as they say, as your oyster.
Yes.
Hey, CEC and Enterprise Cayman, you guys are doing some great things. So thanks so much.
Of course, we're happy to be here. We're happy to talk about all the opportunities available to residents here in Cayman today.
All right. Could I, through you, I have my notes before you. I know we have Brock online, but I'm thinking I may want to take a sabbatical one day. I might be looking for someone else to fill my shoes. Katina seems to be willing on Fridays. Maybe you can do it on Mondays. Introduce for us. Set up the stage.
Okay, so Enterprise Cayman, through its Cayman Code Academy partner, Code Fellows, is continuing to lead the way in tech education by embracing the future of artificial intelligence. We're now offering innovative learning opportunities that integrate artificial intelligence tools to equip individuals for a tech industry that's rapidly evolving, as we know.
Lynn Russell, I see it, couldn't do a better job.
So we do have an upcoming workshop on the 10th of June, Web3 101, and we have online Brock, who will be the online instructor for the course, who will tell us a bit more about what that's all about.
So should we go to the phones and welcome Brock?
Let's go to the phones.
All right, Mr. Reggio, good afternoon. How are you? How is the weather in Seattle?
Oh, it's wonderful today. Just a little bit of sun and some cool air flowing. So it's a nice day here in Seattle. Thank you so much for having me on the program.
Well, thank you for allowing us to be able to connect with you, and thank you for joining us. This idea, though, that we're talking about tech education, we're looking at so much changes, not just with artificial intelligence, but as I endeavored to joke with our guests in studio before we came on, we might even fix natural stupidity. So a lot to be looking forward to, my friend. Tell us, though, from this conference is coming up, from Code Fellows' perspective, what are you hoping to achieve? What is it that you want? Not just your participants, but maybe the media as a takeaway to sort of inform, at least enlighten, and maybe introduce it to the wider audience.
Absolutely. This upcoming workshop is about Web3 technology, and Web3 is one of those new terms that's coming out. You know, people are talking a lot about it alongside AI these days. But Web3 is really a catch-all term for what's enabled by blockchain technologies that have been emerging for over the last decade or so. And Web3 is not just a network of machines or computers like we know the internet today, but it's a network of value. In a way, it's kind of recapturing the spirit of what the internet was originally intending to be. If you look back at like Web 1.0, the earliest days of the internet, everything was built on open protocols for email and web pages and file transfers and even news groups. And anyone with a computer could fully participate because it was globally decentralized. But these days in Web 2.0, all of the really valuable parts of internet activity are getting consolidated into this handful of 5 different mega corporations. And Web3 is seeking to provide even more security and trust and transparency with what the internet can offer with a globally decentralized public blockchain like the Bitcoin network that has been running since 2009, or with Ethereum that can run smart contracts and have agreements that don't require an intermediary to mediate them. And these all work as public ledgers, and they're fully auditable for transactions.
Well, as I listen to you, I mean, sometimes just reading the news, for those of us who still find, the newsprint accessible, terms like Internet of Things, machine learning, you talked about, Wave 3, what happened to 1 and 2, and then artificial intelligence. Are they all synonymous? Are they distinct?
Yeah, each of these is a new direction that technology is heading. Technology is advancing in so many different directions these days. Each of these is its own distinct field of research and growth. But in a way, Web3 is something that's going to be underlying a lot of these because it's building these networks of value that can be useful in any of these other areas.
And then when we look at that, and we look at some of the moves, if I might ask, and you mentioned blockchain and Bitcoin, and we're seeing the movement towards digital currencies, even in the region, but we're seeing the discussions through the U.S. legislature. We're watching it unfold in other jurisdictions. How does that play into this whole concept?
Yeah, the core concept is this idea of digital scarcity, right? Where instead of just being able to copy anything without tracking where it comes from, within the world of Web3, we can actually see the full history of one individual cryptocurrency coin, for example, and how it moves around. Or digital goods can have a really trustworthy certificate of authenticity behind them. And so what you actually own and what you hold in your Web3 wallet is fully your own, and you can have assurance that you're the only one who controls that instead of a company or even a government who as an intermediary. Right. And so there is some really interesting regulation that needs to come into play to help protect people who are accessing these types of resources, of course. But we're just watching really closely to and hoping the government doesn't overstep in terms of limiting how this technology can really be helpful for giving people self-sovereignty over their own wealth.
I appreciate your lot of reference, self-sovereignty, but we're seeing it with sort of data protection legislation, individual privacy. Any concerns that as we move to, for instance, digital currency and the like, and in particular looking at what the EU has been doing in the last few years, any concerns that will take away the individual sovereignty? I mean, you mentioned it, but still, right, you can track it, as you shared, much more easily.
Yes, in a way, the Web3 technologies can actually give us much stronger ownership of our data. By storing our information in, for example, like a Web3 wallet, when we connect to a site, we bring that data with us. Instead of that site having to track everything we do, we can choose what we share. Imagine going from a doctor's office to get your x-rays to another doctor's office to get those evaluated. We could securely hold those in our own self-sovereign wallet and then be able to choose what aspects of that we share without it needing to go through third-party back-end systems where we have no idea who's accessing it. So in terms of data regulation, data protection, Web3 is going to give us some really amazing tools to make sure that we as end users have even more capability to protect and share only what we want to share. Now, in terms of other types of regulation that Europe's looking at right now, it's a little bit concerning because they don't seem to really understand Web3 technology yet. And so we're really invested in doing as many of these training programs as possible to help people get their heads around how this works and how this can be really useful for society and giving people control over their information.
And with that in mind, I mean, as the participants attend the workshop, what is it that you're hoping they'll learn? I mean, how will they benefit?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've designed this for beginners, so folks who don't have any experience yet in Web3, we want to look at the context of where all this blockchain technology stuff came from, how it really took off and why, and just give an introduction to how to get your hands into Web3, creating your own self-custody wallet, how to manage security for any digital assets that you may hold in that wallet, how to interact with dApps or decentralized applications. We'll even mint NFTs and explore some open metaverse environments. And we'll get to talk about career opportunities and what the world of Web3 looks like from that perspective of where you might take it, where you might find opportunities for jobs.
You know, and this is where I think increasingly not just us as new entrants, but even policymakers and old aging parents. Terminology alone can be off-putting. The idea that we now have a metaverse, and we're not talking about Ant-Man. So
absolutely, it's very true. It's almost overwhelming in a way with so many changes in the technology world. But this workshop is really designed to help people really get their heads wrapped around what Web3 is and how you can safely be a part of it without getting scammed, without getting caught up in any of the dark side of it, so to speak, and really just getting the benefits of what Web3 has to offer.
Indeed. Well, we have a short break to take. I know you, like our other guests, have a taxing schedule. Would you want to accept the invitation to remain online in case you want to contribute, or do you have other pressing engagements that you have to exit?
I'm happy to stay online. Appreciate being part of the conversation.
Thank you very much. When we come back, I'll ask Miss Alyssa during the break if she wants to, welcome us back. Nothing like having such an eloquent voice and such a comforting soul to be a part of our panel. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Are you tired of waiting in long lines at the pharmacy just to fill a prescription?
If what, child, let me tell you.
Well, now you can save time and money with ValueMed's online prescription service. Visit ValueMed's new website, valrx.com, and click the Refill Subscriptions button. Fill in your information and choose your preferred pickup location. Or email your prescription refills for ValueMed Walkers Road at rx-wr@valrx.com, and for ValueMed in Boddentown, email rx-bt at valrx.com. Say goodbye to the hassle of waiting in lines and hello to the convenience of online prescriptions with ValueMed Pharmacy. Visit valrx.com to place your orders today.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 2 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive-through, rain or shine, free pickup and delivery services available. Call Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. Also ask about our in-house discounts. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. That's 949-7104.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And always an opportunity to be able to merge, technologies as they sort of, almost the frontier with individuals who have not just a passion but the intellect and enthusiasm. So as we bring our friends and their connected partners at Cayman Enterprise City, so it is amazing, as we heard from Rock just then, and hopefully Chris in a minute and Kendra. This is something that is happening, or whether we embrace it or not, it's going to impact us. So wrap it for us so that we get a good perspective.
All right, so as Brock mentioned, the upcoming Web 3 101 is a beginner's course, and it takes place on Saturday, the 10th of June, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the Cayman Enterprise City Innovation Room at Stratfield House. You can register online at enterprisecayman.ky, and the cost for the workshop is $99. We do have need-based scholarships if necessary, and those can be directed to me at ajm@enterprisecayman.ky.
If I might do, Chris, maybe pivot to you in this segment. The idea that through our schools, whether it's a teacher in that first year of school with the first student, introduce them to some basic technology, not just the machines and the little gizmos that they'll use, but how it's going to impact them. To you and your colleagues at ICCI relative to instructing the future operators, programmers, coders, and the like. It's all encompassing, and it's daunting.
It is all encompassing and daunting. You actually asked a very good question earlier, which I could refer back to, about this idea of what happened to Web 1 and Web 2 and Web 3. Technology is moving quickly, but society needs to move along with it. And we see this evolution not just being an evolution in the tools, but an evolution in the world in which we live, the way we're influenced, the way we absorb those tools. Youth today, children and adults, live in a different world than they did previously, and that impacts how they receive and how they interact in an education environment. They come into the classroom, they come into that classroom physically, they come into that classroom virtually, they come into that classroom both physically and virtually, and they engage in different ways with different perceptions, expectations, and objectives. One of the things we're experiencing right now is that there's been a rapid change in the technology, and we're seeing that in our everyday life more and more, but with artificial intelligence, with blockchain technology happening in the background. There's a lot of technological change, and education institutions like International College of the Cayman Islands and other partners like CEC are working quite diligently to respond to that and to help people navigate those changes, that different environment they're working in, to reconcile that and create opportunities for them.
If I might, Ms. Kendra, from the perspective, the youth today, very much, they don't necessarily want to embrace, this is, for many of them, the only world they know. As a simple experiment, a few of us parents offer their children, do you want this piece of plastic that you can take and buy stuff, or do you want this physical cash? And it was only 7 children, 2 asked, well, could I just have it on my phone? Do I need either? And like, huh? That's what they wanted. So this is their norm. But how do we as parents embrace that? How do we have to facilitate it? How ourselves aren't lost in not just the language, but the translation?
I think it's very important these days to remember that we still acquire knowledge the same way, right? From the time we're infants, when we're speaking to our children, how we emulate behaviors, what toys we give them, how we interact with them. If we just hand them a phone and they're consuming something, that's not how evolution has geared us so far. Yeah. Maybe it will change in the future, but we do need to have physical experiences with them, and we need to keep playing games like Monopoly, and we need to engage as a society with them. It doesn't mean that we restrict them entirely, but we need to have that kind of process-oriented view.
Yeah.
And the same goes for education, whether that's in school or out of school. It's like meeting them where they're at, where their interests are. We have started something called the Cayman Islands Artificial Intelligence Society, and we're trying to help foster these conversations here on island. So our event on the 14th of June will be looking at education and a whole like value chain of education from early ages to the point where companies are hiring and looking at what that trajectory looks like in the next decade. I don't think any of us know, but we can prepare in the kind of sense of understanding the role of an educator. And again, I expand that beyond teachers, because there's civic organizations that play a role. There's extracurricular organizations. The reason I'm here is because I have a 3-4-5 robotics, where we're engaging with kids and teaching them about competing with robots and having fun and programming and learning about engineering and design. So all of these things are going to help them, even in a way that we can't predict. That's why the process is really important versus the outcome approach.
And if I may then ask, because I want to perhaps bring Brock back into it, but you mentioned monopoly, a game that many of us love. But there are two things immediately. It's a game that could take, a beat. And if we're playing with our parents and our children, I like the board version, right? You sit by the table, you have a good afternoon with it. But is it that we're going to play that in this traditional board form, or are we going to have a digital version?
Well, obviously, during COVID, all of us experienced this time where we were very isolated from each other. And so some of us adapted quickly to that. Like my children use this thing at school called Kahoot, which is a website where you can enter in a quiz. And so we ended up spending Christmas Day doing a quiz with our family in the UK about trivia about the Cayman Islands. So we connected that way. So I think obviously it's circumstances, but especially when kids are younger, they really need the social interaction that maybe we're not doing as much to foster that now.
Mm-hmm. Education, these are tools. Monopoly is a tool. It's a tool for entertainment, but it's also a tool maybe to teach about capitalism and the reality of what your family is really like when it comes down to getting Park Place. And brokering technology and understanding how to work with your children and with ourselves. It's not just children, but how we communicate with our friends and our family, being conscious that this is a tool, and am I using this tool correctly? Am I engaging them in a meaningful way?
Right.
And that extends to all areas of our life.
So Brock, come back to you then. The idea that even those of us who may be the most willing to stay by ourselves, some call us introverts, we are social beings. And as Ms. Kendra shared, the idea of the isolation, go back to what I thought was a long century, 2020, and 2021, even longer century. It seems like it was a long time ago. If I may ask you, has that become the norm, that we are by ourselves now? And to what extent, as we embrace the metaverse, that social interaction, that need for some of us to interact, is going to be compromised?
Yeah, we are so very much social beings, and we need to have people around us. I think the interest in the metaverse is a reaction to the way people have been feeling isolated on their own in digital spaces. The metaverse is really about being together in this digital realm at the heart of it. And our educational approach, follows the same lines of being community first, because we learn in community with our classmates, with our instructor, with our school as a whole, and that's what really enables us to move forward and stay abreast of all of these rapid changes. But I think that what we're going to see happen in the next few years, in the next decade, is that the metaverse will just simply be the place where people gather. Already, Zoom and Twitter and Facebook, these are proto-metaverse spaces, and we're going to see them develop more and more fully to help us represent who we are in those spaces. And that's what the metaverse will become. It'll be a way for us to be connected to people in a whole new way.
But isn't that sort of an oxymoron? You're talking about a metaverse and we're using the word gather. Ms. Kendra, if...
Well, I have a daughter that lives in the metaverse, so I can say
she's there because she found my son, because he doesn't come back yet. He's still there.
But they, I think sometimes it allows people to overcome something about themselves that might be challenging to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, we can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? So we need to understand what its implications are. And I read a really interesting article this weekend.
Online or in print? I mean, was it on PAHI?
Well, it was in the Australian, so I don't think I would have been able to get the print version. But luckily, the author had shared it on. He's a Australian thinker and works for ACARA, which is like a government entity. But his article was really like delving into what are we talking about when we talk about AI, the threat to education and things like that. So, I mean, this article it's called, AI is taking away educators' role in helping young people know themselves and the power they have to change the world. So he delves into that, and it's really worth a read, but I think that's the sort of discussions we need to be having.
Indeed.
We can't say one or the other thing is.
All right. As we go into the break, Brock, could I ask you initially, with what Ms. Kendra just shared, the notion that as parents and policymakers in particular, when we're seeing what is unfolding, the need to embrace these changes, whether we like it or not, they're going to happen, but at the same time to ensure we're protecting our own privacy, the ability to ensure that our children are socialized in a way that they see a face is not, like the Planet of the Apes where there's no definable features. And for some of us, just these conversations and just my comments are inflammatory, but those are the realities. So, Brock, how do we ensure that the next iteration of Wave 4 or Wave 14 doesn't divide us, but actually brings us closer, more connected, but in protecting our own data and our own choices?
Great perspective. I think one of the core values of Web3 is community. There's community behind how decisions are made because of how things are decentralized, right? The community has to agree on the direction that things are going in Web3. So Web3 gives us some of those tools so that we as a broad community can make these decisions instead of leaving all of what's driving technology in the hands of this small conglomerate of corporations that are profit motivated, right? So by returning some of that power, returning some of that value to the users who are participating in Web3 in the network, now we can make decisions about what comes next in a way that really upholds the community's values.
Okay, awesome. We're going to go into the break, and when I come back, I'm going to see if I can encourage the eloquence and intellect of Miss Alyssa to welcome us back. She's going to give us an introduction of our guests and everything, right? That's what we're going to work on. But as I said that, as I look at the table, 50% of us are low-tech, paper-based. The other 50% very high-tech with their, gadgets. Hey, but we're still getting along, right? Let's see if that continues after the break. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we're introducing the new Boneless Hot Sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Are you kidding me?
Hey girl, what's wrong?
My eyeliner foundation just ran out and I have to leave Savannah in 15 minutes.
That's easy. Just stop at Savannah Pharmacy. That's where I get all of my makeup and for a great price too.
Really?
Really, girl. Where are you going?
To Savannah Pharmacy, duh.
Wait, I'm coming too. Ran out of my favorite nail polish.
Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village provides you with more than just prescriptions. Savannah Pharmacy is just around the corner with everything you need and the hours you need it. Visit us today for fast, efficient, and professional service. We are here as a team to assist you while taking care of your health. Call us today at 946-3336.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments from May 28th through June 12th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.portercayman@gmail.com. or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That is 946-9020.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. As promised, she is not just amazing. She has a great intellect and acumen, and she was allowed me to do as I oftentimes when I see talent, I want to develop it. So, Ms. Alyssa Mandis, through you, I would like you to welcome us back. Pretend we just come back from the break.
So, welcome back to Talk Today. In studio, we have myself, Alyssa Manderson from Enterprise Cayman. And we have Mr. Chris Joseph from ICCI and Miss Kendra Okonski from the 345 Robotics Program.
And on the phone joining us from Seattle.
Yes, of course. On the phone lines, we have Mr. Brock from... Code Fellows. Sorry, my mind just...
No. But thank you for that because I really appreciate it. And the reason why I asked her for 2 reasons. Isn't she great?
Thank you.
But also, I have all this paper, and I got friends and mostly young ones saying, why are you destroying trees? Well, it's, can be recycled. But you have your technology, right?
Yes.
And thankfully, your eyes are fantastic because if you can see the size of that font, you're good. I have to magnify mine. As Chris does, right? But I have it here, and I have my notes, I have my pen where I can do little markings and symbols that mean nothing to anybody. But I could see it. You reference, okay, who's on the phone?
Yes.
And there is, where's he from?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that to ask in relation to a question from one of our listeners off here. We have the metaverse. We have education. We have the instructors like yourselves, the parent facilitators, the notion that we want to merge AI. I joked earlier, we're still working on fixing natural stability, but that's a different story. How do we get people to a space where it blends seamlessly? The dollar in your wallet can be exchanged if it's accepted, whether you want to sanitize it or not, and it's physical there and it can move about. The dollar that's in your digital wallet or in somewhere sometimes can be inadvertently blocked because there's no connection with that thing that needs you to do. Or if, as some have alleged could happen, you're working in a particular regime and your access code has been blocked for whatever reason, could that also happen to your money? Chris, from that perspective, help us to understand those and allay those concerns.
I mean, I can boil it down. Kendra speaks much more elegantly about metaverse, living with a teenager who works in the metaverse.
So you're not a teenager?
Well, mine's a 5-year-old, and he's not far off. So, my 5-year-old is a big Pokemon Go fan, and so he gets to have time outside hunting Pokemon with a cell phone, and that's almost like a threshold of the metaverse in some ways, where it's called augmented reality, which has been around for many years. The metaverse are humans interacting in a different environment. They're still human beings interacting. And we have to remember that, and Kendra spoke about that at a very fundamental level, these are still humans and they're still interacting. We didn't have text messaging when we were kids.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah. All right, myself.
The guy who said William Russell.
But you know, why are we doing these things? Why are we introducing technology? We're you know, for children and youth, we're building a strong foundation to prepare them to be equipped to be successful in the world. The world is going in this direction. For adults, we're doing the same thing because the labor market, the workforce, the way that people are engaging in work is going in this direction. So it's not a matter of should we be in the metaverse. It's the reality is that the way we're going to have to interact is going to become more diverse, more immersed in digital environments. And we as parents need to help prepare our youth to be able to be responsible, effective adults as they grow. And as adults ourselves, we need to learn how to navigate.
There's a really good quote from this article I mentioned earlier. It's the author's David de Carvalho. So he says, schooling, while preparing our children as best as it can for the changing world of work, is going to need to focus more on those aspects of humanity that are exclusively human and vitally important for our development as democratic communities. In addition to reading, writing, numeracy, and digital literacy, the other 4 general capabilities in the Australian curriculum, I guess he's from Australia, ethical understanding, personal and social capability, intercultural understanding, and critical and creative thinking are going to be more and more important. I love that.
But those are the things that we want more and more now, right, in the ethical component. Augmented reality, virtual reality, how do they play into the fact that, you know, for many of our young people, they don't see. There's no difference. Is it a concern that they can't differentiate? You know.
I think all of this needs to be looked at relative to what we came from, right? I lived in an analog world where there were still party telephone lines, and I've talked to kids here about that, how my 3rd grade teacher had a chocolate chip cookie recipe that she got because she was eavesdropping on the phone, right? Or the original text messaging was Morse code, right? And our seafarers here used Morse code on ships in the past. So it's connecting something that they can think of relative to here we are today. And we can't forget that that's where we came from. But we don't know where we're going, but at least to have that you know, mental framework, I think helps us to get somewhere next.
I would love, you know, at some point in time, just even if it's one of my personal edification, but because it's so impactful, but it's also intriguing, what could happen. Take, for instance, you know, from the robotics perspective, there's something online somewhere about saying that Elon Musk is talking about, through his company, you know, developing this companion. We've seen iterations of it across the globe. The Japanese have done a fantastic thing, almost realistic. So with that in mind, are we consciously moving towards a space where we don't, in our minds, think we need physical interaction? Or are we so blinded by that pursuit of what we could push the technological limits that could be the consequence?
I mean, keep in mind that technology often doesn't go forward for the sake of technology. People push it, but the things that get traction in our lives for a good reason. And we already interact with machines. I mean, you don't know it, but when you go to the bank and you see that little bubble at the bottom and you ask questions and you get those responses, most of those are AIs now. So you're already interacting with AIs. You're already interacting in these environments. The only difference is you're sitting in your living room without the headset on. But what we're talking about is a continuation of a trajectory that's been going on for decades, if not a century, to take us to a place where we're more empowered, where we're more engaged, where we're more there's more equality, and along the way there's going to be some booby traps, some pitfalls. And Kendra's talked about some of those, about focusing on what's most important.
Our phones are filled with all these technologies, and we're readily giving away our information to all these large companies in exchange for the freedom and information that we get and the ability to connect with each other. So we've already made that trade-off. So some of these things that our friend Brooke was referring to really is about giving people a bit more power over their digital footprint. And we can look at that in the real world too. There's many, many great things going on, and many in the Cayman Islands, right? We have to remember we're adjacent to all of this, and a lot of the companies and people that are coming here are working on really innovative things that are going to impact the world in really revolutionizing ways. And we need to help bring that together in our community so that our kids aren't left behind here too. That all that's going on, let's have the conversation. parents need to be engaged in this.
Well, I'm hoping that your presentation on the 14th on the Yacht Club would be beneficial. Before I ask Mr. Lissa for sort of the conclusion, Brock, we'll come back to you quickly for just some final thoughts.
Yeah, you mentioned this option for how we spend and who controls that money, and that's where Web3 really shines. Because we have full control over those coins in our Web3 wallet, we have what we call the freedom to transact, and that cannot be interfered with by an intermediary like Venmo or PayPal or a credit card company or a bank that could up and fail on us, as we saw some very dramatically happen over the last month or so here. We know that we have direct access to those, and we can choose when and how to spend those the cryptocurrencies that we hold in Web3. So it's going to be a very powerful tool for ensuring that people have access to their own resources in the future.
All right, thank you very much, and I trust it'll be another successful workshop. Final closing thoughts from you, Mr. Lissa.
Yeah, so we are thrilled at Enterprise Cayman to be working with Code Fellows 345 Robotics and ICCI so that we can offer individuals in the Cayman Islands access to a curriculum that's continually evolving, as we've heard here today, and keeping up with the demands of the industry. I'd like to make one last push for our volunteer program as well, please. So if you are a code professional listening, please get in touch, as we're currently looking for volunteers to support our code clubs and to support events and activities such as Tech Hacks for Social Good. So with that said, a special thank you to Brock, Chris, and Kendra for taking the time today to join us to share more on tech education and getting the conversation started. We hope to be back soon.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for playing along. You get a parting gift on the way out.
And
you get a gift. All right, listen, this is where we're going, and let's embrace it, because the only fear sometimes comes from a space of being, uninformed. Otherwise, embrace it with courage. All right, when we come back, let's see what we can do with the plastic that's before us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. In recent months, the Department of Agriculture, Animal Welfare and Control officers and other public service members have received numerous threats to cause harm and injury as a result of the performance of their duties. Threats to safety are a serious offense in the Cayman Islands, more so against any persons employed in the public service. The public is advised to respect the roles of the Department of Agriculture's Animal Welfare and Control officers, staff members, and management. The DOA has a zero-tolerance approach to any threat made to their staff, and all threats will be reported to the RCIPS and investigated. In national news, police investigating the disappearance of Madeleine McCann are to carry out searches at a reservoir in Portugal. A search of the dam will begin on Tuesday, 50 kilometers from where the toddler went missing in Praia da Luz in 2007. Buckingham Palace has declined a request to return the remains of an Ethiopian prince who came to be buried at Windsor Castle in the 19th century. The prince was taken to the UK at age 7 and arrived an orphan after his mother died on the journey. Queen Victoria then took an interest in him and arranged for his education and ultimately his burial when he died aged 18. But his family wants his remains to be sent back to Ethiopia. But in a statement sent to the BBC, a Buckingham Palace spokesperson said removing his remains could affect others buried in the catacombs of St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA's Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born September 25, 1947, at Watering Place, Cayman Brac, Royce Adolphus Dilbert was the firstborn son to Helen and Grace Dilbert, née Tibbets. Mr. Dilbert was a hard-working man who spent numerous years at sea, as well as employing his diverse skill sets on land. In 1979, he would marry Yvette Jackson and took employment with Cayman Brac Power and Light Company in 1981 as chief engineer, where he remained until his retirement in December of 2018. Heavily influenced by his wife, in 1982 he gave his heart to the Lord and joined her at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he later served as interim pastor in 2002 to 2007, becoming pastor in 2017. Mr. Dilbert was a charter member of the Rotary Club of Cayman Brac, served as PTA president at Creek Primary School, worked with the youth in the community, president of the Veterans and Seamen Society, and was a member of the Development and Control Board Cayman Brac until his passing. Royce was a devoted father to 7 children, loved to fish, and had a passion for cars.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Sometimes you start the week out right and you get a lot of information on Monday. By the time Friday comes, you can deserve that break. Well, we're going to give it to you today. Miss Bellaroni, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. Well, those who've seen her on stage, whether she's singing or performing, always entertaining. So
That is my go-to.
there you go. We find a happy space. When we look at sometimes our impact on our environment and the way that our environment affects us, and it's not just physical, it's mental. I love Bacchus. I don't want to offend anybody, but when we see crowds of people in incredible activity, that is akin to me when we see the garbage, you know, because then it crowds out the mind. It sort of, instead of soothing the spirit, it makes you sorrowful, and we don't have that space. But it's not unlike if you're swimming and diving and you come across something in the ocean that, other than you, it shouldn't be there. How then do we make sure that we are not only resourceful and respectful and be good stewards, but we see the need to champion our environmental sort of education and protection that we enjoy today, but for centuries as we've had to date?
So how do we do that?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of a bottom up and a top down approach. We need people to understand the need for it. We need the government to put in place the need for it, right? As in, how do we get it across to people?
Yeah, and how do we do that? And how do we bring that into, it's real. It's one thing to say, it's another to do. It's one thing for the government to, be charged with responsibility for formulating policy or passing legislation, even the implementation, even the enforcement. But if we as a populace aren't on the same traction, then we could be going in parallel directions.
You know what's really interesting? So for me, I think everybody has their own journey with this. Everybody starts at a very different place when it comes to your relationship with the environment and then your relationship as a part of the environment, right? So I know when I started my journey, I used to look at environmental issues and be like, oh, I really don't want to think about that because that's just going to make me really upset, right? And I think a lot of people do that because it's easier. We all have hard lives. Everybody has something in their life that's difficult. And so when you add more things on top like that, layered environmental issues and, oh no, my direct impacts to this, that, and this, and other, you're like, I don't want to think about that. Like that's not. So for me, it was a lot about my journey. I think it's about meeting people where they're at right now and not being angry that maybe they have a different conception of an issue, and saying, okay, this is your conception based on A, B, C, D, but let's look at it from this light and let's move towards sustainability and explain to you why this is an important change that we need to make.
Well, and those are sometimes changes are incremental. We say change is the only constant, but sometimes, if we're not willing to embrace it, we'll never get there. All right, help us set the stage as to why Ollie and Andrew are here. Through you, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So we're super excited to have these guys here. So exactly a few days ago, a year ago, we had Ollie, the amazing Ollie. He swam around the entire island. He just jumped in the ocean, decided he was going to swim around it in support of plastic pollution issues here in Cayman and in support of a single-use plastic ban. And so Plastic Free Cayman has been around for a long time. We're a grassroots project started by a couple of amazing teachers, Claire Hughes and Bill Lamont. And, we have an issue with plastic here, right? And so Ollie was just the madman enough to say, yeah, I'll swim around your island in support of this. And so exactly a year ago, he did exactly that. So we have him back it's called the Grand Swim. We're calling this the Grand Visit, in which he's just kind of seeing where we've gotten, how have we progressed as an island. Are the beaches just as bad as they were a year ago? We've been doing cleanups, but he'll tell you they're almost worse than they were a year ago last time he was here. So we have him here to reignite some of the lost maybe flames that we lost over the last year. We still don't have a single-use plastic ban, so we're trying to get some momentum with these sorts of things, right? And yeah, that's kind of why he's here.
Welcome, Ollie.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Let's start. I mean, many of us like to swim. Many of us love being in the water. Some of us, sadly, even though we live on an island, we grew up on an island, it petrifies us. And it's amazing. Hopefully, as I say that to share that we can continue to get people more comfortable who live on an island to be in and near the water. So swimming should be just almost a part of the instruction as the ABCs. But what led you to jump in the water, as Bella said, and swim around the island?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's been a real journey for me as well, like Bella said before. I think all of us have our separate journeys, the way we look at the world and what we do. And swimming for me was, as a child, I was a competitive swimmer, and I'd be swimming before school, after school. And it got to a point where it was almost a love-hate relationship. I was doing it so much, I kind of resented it a little bit. And I moved a little bit away from the competitive swimming and then turned to more surfing as I grew up a little bit. So I started going in the sea a lot more. And I think that's where my passion for the environment began, to be honest, being on the beaches, listening to the sea and just, the sunsets, all that sort of stuff. So really developed a passion and a love for the ocean from a very early age. And more recently I've started doing these big swims, been putting that passion of the environment and my love for swimming as well. We sort of touched briefly on sort of the mental side of things for me. When I'm in the ocean and I'm swimming, it's one arm in front of the other. It's a really kind of metronome for me. My swimming, it's very 44 strokes a minute. We did a little song with it, and it's like that for me. And I can switch off and I go into a real place of relaxation, and I just love being in the sea.
Yeah. For those who do, it is surreal, it is sobering, and at times it is spiritual. The idea that you're in the sea, just listening to the waves. It doesn't have to be rough. You can taste the salt without question if you like it. Now, what maybe for some, just exhilarating, for others, it's actually terrifying.
Yeah.
So for you, and two things: the idea that, as Bella shared, you return again, and you see the beaches. Compare what you saw last time to what you see now.
Yeah, I think sadly, despite the amazing work that Plastic Free Cayman are doing out here, the plastic is still in the ocean and it's still washing up. If not worse, I'm not sure. It's definitely not getting any better. So we can pick this stuff up every day, all day, and it's still going to be really difficult to try and clean the beaches. What we really need to do is move away from the plastics in the first place. A lot of this stuff obviously isn't coming from Cayman. It's washing up from some of the local countries and islands around us here.
And the cruise ships dumping out sea.
And cruise ships, exactly. So it's really trying to educate not just people here. It's not about preaching at anyone. It's just about trying to make those small changes, and we need to begin with ourselves. Although it's not necessarily the plastic from here, we need to take responsibility ourselves and start picking the plastic up, start cleaning it up a lot more, getting involved with groups such as Plastic Free Cayman, with a team collective effort. We saw that at the weekend. We did an incredible clean up down on the East End.
Right. If I dare ask, given the way the currents flow, what you just shared, yes, we litter here, but a lot of it washes ashore from whether it's passing vessels, or whether it's washing off from adjoining countries and jurisdictions and end up here. What can we do about that? I mean, if I bring to your house something, you didn't ask for it, but it's now in your space. This is what's happening in some instances.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the main thing we need to do, I think, is lead by example. So we need to get away from the plastics here as much as we can. The sort of countries that don't have the recycling facilities, they don't have the waste management facilities that we perhaps have here, although I think Bella would agree they're not exactly ideal on the island. So it's really just trying to lead by example, spread the message, and try and support the other countries and communities that are struggling as well.
Okay. Before I bring Andrew into conversation, I'll come back to you in a second only, but Bella, he mentioned the recycling. Many of us, not just in our households to instruct our children, but are being led by our children in our households because of maybe what they've seen in the media, what they're being exposed to in schools and the like. We're recycling. We wash your recyclables. I mean, my recyclables are as clean as the dishes I eat, right? But then there are allegations that you take it to the recycling places. When it's collected, it's all combined into the same garbage truck, and it's taken, and there's no real recycling. It's just a sham. Is that true?
Well, so we don't have the capacity for on island recycling. We're too small. It would create. We're just no space. We don't want to take up any natural forests with these big recycling centers. So yeah, we do send a lot of it off island. And it does depend who you send it off with. So, have a bunch of local people. You have Iron Recycling. They're great. You have Junk. They're great. And then you have the new Regen project, which is hopefully the whole DART Regen project, right? Which is hopefully going to be a state-of-the-art recycling sorting area that then also gets sent off. It's really tricky though, because recycling isn't the answer to the problem, right? The answer is to just avoid using it at all costs. But if you do have to use it, recycling is the best thing you can do, because recycling can turn into new materials, anything like that. But what happens to these items once they get shipped to, say, America or things like that is, you want to say that they're going to be dealt with ethically and humanely and all that stuff, but we'd have to maybe track it to make sure it's not then getting sent to China or Philippines or one of those other countries.
That's it. So with that then, and this is where I think public discussions like this help for us to question what is it that we've been told to be, cemented in our beliefs. So the glass, we were recycling the glass, now it's no longer. We can get into the discussion as to why and so on. But just one of the recyclables that are well used and known throughout the globe, no longer available here. Glass and plastic, could they be equally impactful if we can't recycle glass anymore? How do we fix that?
Well, I know there are definitely a few groups working towards that right now, trying to get a new machine set up and going for that again. I don't think I can speak too much on that because I'm not sure where it's at. But I do know that there are efforts right now on island trying to get glass going again, which would be great. And in terms of recycling, you, like I said, you already have groups, Island Recycling, you have Junk. These groups are already doing it. They're on ground recycling type 1, type 2, and I think type 7. Yeah. Right?
Well, 2, 1 and 2.
Yeah, they just added a new one. Yeah, which is great.
So the ban in your mind on single-use plastics, what would that do? I mean, you talk about a straw, you use it, you toss it, or any other single-use plastic. Is that going to make that much of an impact, given them the two things? The glass isn't there anymore, and then China has said to some of the other global nations, keep your plastic, guy. I don't want it. We have enough of our own. It's piling up there. So.
Okay, so if we keep using it, where's it going to go? China doesn't want it. I mean, it's going to pile up. It doesn't go anywhere. And even if you don't see it, it's still in. You're breathing it in all the time. You're drinking it. You're eating it. It's tricky. It's tricky because really you just need to stop using it. That's kind of the bottom line. I think Ollie would agree with me. But it's a matter of. It's always going to be there.
Yeah, we need to. Well, I think stop using it. It's incredibly difficult for people to stop using it because it's everywhere. We still buy stuff wrapped in plastic whilst we're on the island here. Back in the UK, we still buy stuff in plastic. We're not blaming the consumers. The change definitely needs to come from above. So we need to find some different solutions. So we want to reduce how much we use in the first place. Recycle where we can. I think the new figure suggests as low as 5% of plastics globally are actually recycled. So anything you put in the recycling box whether all around the world, collectively only 5% of that gets recycled. So I can understand why people would be hesitant to. So it really is reducing how much we use in the first place. And then we need some great minds to get together and work out some better solutions. We need some plant-based plastics, cellulose plastics. There's some new stuff coming in now where we can use alternatives. It's really getting another product, because it's a convenience. Plastic is a convenience. Things are wrapped in plastic for a reason. Some things are unnecessarily wrapped in plastic, but some stuff does last longer. It needs to be wrapped in something for transportation, so it's finding those alternatives and solutions.
Which exactly, when we ask for a plastic ban, we're not asking to ban every single thing wrapped in plastic. A lot of other countries have banned maybe 2, 3, 5 different types. We just want to start with something. Let's ban a plastic bag. Let's stop importing plastic bags, or let's ban straws. Start small, build up, and educate around those issues. It doesn't need to be massive. It just needs to be a start.
Andrew, welcome, man.
How are you?
Hey, enthusiastic, engaged, and oftentimes, courageous.
Well, it's lovely to be on your island, I know that much. But
it's a good place to be.
The litter is a huge problem, as we've been driving around and seeing it. It's massive compared with back in the UK. I know we have our issues back in the UK, but here, because of how you're situated, you pick up so much more plastic, and it's crazy here. I've not seen anything like it. And to do a clean-up like we did yesterday and pull up over 800 pounds with just around about 100 people in the time we did was crazy. And it shows when people come together how much can be done and how much can be achieved, and it's people power.
Yeah, that's the thing. The people power can make a profound difference. But we're seeing Cayman today a lot of litter along our roads. I would venture to say that your cleanup in the morning, by afternoon, if you drive that same route, walk that same beach, look in those dikes, there's going to be more garbage there.
It's back.
So it wasn't that long ago when we were more pristine. We didn't have that litter. Before I asked Bella what her thoughts, what's causing that? Because it's obviously something.
The influx in the demand for plastics, it's horrendous. And if you got the likes of Coca-Cola and the bigger companies that are producing trillions and trillions of items of plastic, and there is no way for plastic, so we've got to reuse this stuff and find other ways. I mean, there are ways, like the fishing gear back in the UK. We can take the fishing nets, we can turn them into things like what Ollie is wearing now, sunglasses and flip-flops and watches and shoes and things, so things can be used and reused. And like I was speaking to some of the children at the schools today, they were pretty horrified by the fact that I wear flip-flops from the beach, I wear shorts from the beach, I dress my children in other people's stuff that they've left behind on beaches, because it's just reusing rather than just put things in the bin. That's the way society has become. It's a throwaway society.
But we do it with people, so I guess we do it with things as well. So Bella, with a small community and statistically globally 5%, they're minimus, and I kid you not. We've been recycling for decades now, right? Here and elsewhere, and my recyclables are clean. But when I take it to the recycling place and I watch the garbage truck come, and I take bin number 1 with the plastic and dump it in, bin number 2 with the aluminum and dump it in, it's the same garbage truck that I just spent a long time using water and stuff washing. Now, tell me how we fix that.
I don't think there's exactly an easy way to fix it, to be honest. It's not an easy issue to fix, because like Ollie said, there are things that come in plastic that are necessary. They need to be wrapped in plastic. They just do, for food and safety items, anything like that. There is no magical way to fix it other than maybe demanding better from the people, like the people doing that. So maybe go up to your garbage truck man and say, who's your boss? Like, who do I have to contact to say, I just sorted this from that, they're all clean as pickles, right? Like, I'm not
But like Plastic Free Cayman, like the other organizations, government otherwise, we have a good PR, right? You swim around the island, it's good exercise, but you try to draw attention to a cause. Many of us genuinely are committed to recycling, either because we lived other places, we saw the importance of it, we read and we appreciate the impact. I would imagine that many other jurisdictions did what the older Caymanians did. Waste not, want not. They valued everything that they had, and they were very, very good stewards. To see the Cayman of my youth to the Cayman of today, I think Andrew shared it correctly. That demand for these things are driven by us, the increase in the population. So until we get that space.
It's the demand, and we have the power to change that. That's the thing, right? We as the consumers have the power to change the demand. And so when we say, how do we fix this problem, you have to start with yourself. You know, like I said at the very beginning, it's a top-down issue, but it's also a bottom-up issue. You have to believe it. You have to change your choices, and you're changing, then inspiring somebody else to change, then inspiring somebody else to change is going to change the demand. Like, it's not something that us plastic-free are solely responsible for. We will give you a platform to come out, clean up, to raise awareness with us, to coordinate this, to do work with Ollie when he swims around another island. We will give you the capacity to do that, but our aim is to raise awareness and for you to take that, harness it, make changes. That's what we're here for.
Simple changes.
Simple changes. Doesn't be hard. Doesn't have to be hard, right?
And as long as those changes, I think, all it translates into something constructive, meaningful. You know, many of us can, if we consciously change our purchasing habits, demand. I guess, what is it that we're told in economics? You vote with your wallets, right? It's no different here. But then I think we need to see that there is a tangible, realizable goal and benefit to our actions.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I love joining my friends to do a cleanup on the Saturday morning or holiday, but it's frustrating 5 hours later to see that what you got up at 5 a.m. to do is all for naught.
Yeah, and it happens in the UK. We see the beaches, we do the cleanups, and the storms come in, and it's washing in as we're picking it up, and it's the same here. And it can be heartbreaking and soul destroying. But going back to a point you mentioned earlier, it's the small changes. They really do make a difference collectively. And I know sometimes it's really hard to see the small impact because you don't necessarily see it firsthand, but it will collectively, hopefully, in the next couple of generations, but hopefully sooner than that, we can see some bigger changes starting to happen.
Before I ask Bella for final thoughts and sort of activities come up, any concern that I go back to some of the earlier graphics and I don't want to call them movies and animated flicks, but like we have eco warriors and the like, and those terminology, and now they may be called eco terrorists. I'm not sure. Any concern that zeal that we have?
No, I'm looking. I mean, I see. Obviously, we're on Instagram. We do all the Facebook and all the rest of it as social media, as awareness. I personally don't like doing it. I think it's quite, but it does have a benefit because we reach other people. I think some people, some activists, perhaps don't go about it the right way because I think we're all learning. We're all here learning. We're all at different stages. I haven't eaten animals for 6 years. I've been a vegan for 6 years. I don't judge anyone that does eat animals. I don't know that I'm right and what everyone else is doing wrong, and it's not about that. It's about us all being on our separate journey, making our own choices that feel right for us, and hopefully getting better, a little bit better each time. So I think as a human race, personally, I think we're getting most things wrong at the moment, and we're all learning collectively as we go on.
I'm glad you said that, and I don't think that was said any other way than with the greatest of love, but many of us hearing that would be offended, right? And are we unwilling to acknowledge that we got it wrong in many ways? History is a great teacher if we're willing to be instructed, but we're so blind, something willfully blind to what's going forward. So those things that we've gotten wrong in your 10 years, Ollie, what are two of the most significant things that we've gotten wrong so far?
I think the biggest thing that I've necessarily got wrong, but the biggest thing I appreciate that I know now is that money doesn't bring happiness. For me, that's been a massive driving factor for my life and for the way I'm going now. I think when I was much younger, I would chase money like many of us do, to be honest, for our happiness, for our gratification. I'd be excited about getting the next car, the next paycheck, and I've actually realised that from stepping away from that and slowing down a little bit more, seeing the natural beauty that's out there, looking out to sea, watching the sunset, seeing the birds fly past, that sort of stuff. It might sound a little bit wishy-washy, but it's beautiful. The planet that we live on is absolutely stunning if we slow down enough to see it. So getting away from money was definitely a huge one for me. What's another one? I guess just the people that I've met on the journey, I think, inspiring me. We were talking about it in the school visits, being able to meet people such as Frosty, such as Bella, and yourself, the way you're talking about it. It's great to see that we are all on our own separate journeys, but we're good people. People as a whole, we're a good bunch, but we just need to realise and accept that in some ways we are getting it wrong, and we need to try and change.
Andrew, I guess we're from the same generation. You know,
I don't know. I would say you was more from 1985 than the 70s.
But hey, good for you, man. You live in Ireland. You know.
I don't know how old you are. I was born.
We're the same age.
Early 70s, 73. I was born. So
you're younger than me. All right.
There you go. See. So I remember days of. Yeah. You'd buy a glass bottle and you'd be able to take that glass bottle back and get some money back for it.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't happen. It fell flat. And why that fell flat when there's money to be made on it for someone. And like Ollie says, it's not all about the money. But if you was to get a little something back for your Coca-Cola can or whatever it is, your tin cans, your bottles, then you're more inclined to be recycling and doing it properly than just throwing it. And that's the end of it.
So then, but with that in mind, it's good that we do things and we see the impact, and that we feel it's encouraging others. And as Ollie said, it may not be something that will materialize until a generation or two, but we do know, like planting a tree today, it may take a long time before it bears fruit. But if we never plant that tree, we'll never know whether it'll bear fruit. So, in closing, what's coming up, and what do you say to us to we join hands and hearts and making something impactful? Instead of divided, we have a united front.
Well, that's exactly it, is that I think the only way forward for humanity to survive in a happy way, the way we have already been doing. Everybody likes the convenience of life right now. Everybody's comfortable, everybody's happy right now. I mean, a lot of people, definitely not a big percentage of the world, but a lot of people are comfortable, and the only way to keep that is to be sustainable. There is no future if we're not going to do it sustainably. Like, genuinely, there just isn't. And there's countries all over the world that are opening their eyes to this, and so it's about uniting, coming together, and it's about realizing that sustainability is actually the only way forward. As an island, how we develop needs to be developed sustainably. You look in our past, like it's all about sustainability, basically, is it? And in closing, I have Ollie with all of our little dates and events because he's the beautiful British voice for us.
Is he? Is he now? I thought it was Andrew.
I thought the Cornish.
Oh my God! How dare I say that? You're right.
But you see, age, man. That's ageism. I'm just teasing you, but she is right.
So Saturday the 27th, we have something which we're calling the Plastic Pollution Panel. It's at Island House. We're going to be discussing all things plastic pollution, ways we can prevent it getting in the ocean in the first place, the issues and dangers of plastic pollution. RSVP to plasticfreecayman@gmail.com. That's going to be running from 5 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. So if people can come along to that would be awesome. It's a free event. Drop Plastic Free Cayman an email. And on Sunday the 28th, so this Sunday at Lovers Wall, we've got a beach cleanup from 8 till 10 a.m. in the morning. So we want to see it again, as many people as we can. We keep it fun. We have a good time.
It's all about fun.
Make sure we pick up as much as we can and have the biggest impact we can in the shortest amount of time. So,
and it's their last cleanup here, so we definitely want to have people come out, say goodbye to them. We don't know when we'll have them back, so
it's a small world.
I know. I hope so.
What's the song? It's a small world.
After all.
Come on. I'll let you go. So now you recognize Bella's voice, right? They miss you on the stage, girl.
Oh no, it's all right. They're doing fine without me.
I've heard otherwise, but anyway, we have to keep her encouraged.
Oh yeah, thank you.
But thanks very much for joining us, and Ollie, enjoyed the visit. Thanks for bringing it on, Frosty, man. It's good.
It's been a pleasure to come.
Yeah, man. Well,
thank you.
You might be back sooner than you realise.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
All right, toes and noses and everything.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for recycling. Thanks for spreading the good messages.
There you go. Please stay tuned and join us after the break for another fantastic and informative segment.
Here at Savannah Pharmacy, our pharmacists do a lot more than just count out your pills and fill prescriptions. They undergo extensive education in the study of how the human body uses and responds to medicine. They have also built up years of experience in real-life counseling on how to take medication safely. Our pharmacists are on the front lines in keeping our society healthy. Don't risk it or hesitate. Contact us or schedule a consultation with one of our pharmacists today. At Savannah Pharmacy, we care about your health.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointments.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Quitting smoking isn't easy, but it's absolutely possible.
Here's how you can do it. 1. Decide you want to quit. 2. Get the help you need. And 3. Follow through. We're here to help you on your journey to kick the habit. Call the Public Health Department on 244-2889 to register for the next course beginning on May 31st. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in conjunction with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We have a guest, according to our calendar, according to our emails and confirmation, scheduled between 1:30 and 2. And then we have another set from our good friends over at Public Works. And they're going to tell us about their construction trade skills competition at 2 p.m. But unless and until the 1:30 scheduled guests arrive, it's going to be some open line. It's not just because we're planned and prepared, but the show must go on, they say, and it's always a privilege to be able to invite others to share from their platforms, give us their perspective, invite the general populace to be able to, present what is it that they think the rest of us should hear. And some of that is a thought process that you may find it's resting uneasily in your mind, and you're thinking, I wonder if anybody else is thinking this. I wonder what people would say if this was shared publicly. Well, like anything else, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And what better way to test our democracy? What better way to engage, if we don't speak publicly? Hopefully, it can be from a considered perspective. It can be from a prepared piece, but it can be, an extemporaneous comment. But it's about conversation. So I invite you to share as you so choose. 949-8837, 949-6990. Toll free with the compliments of flow if you want. 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. And then, of course, you can dial WhatsApp. It works now, I'm told. We've had a couple of good calls, and they've been very, very clear. Could hear them easily. That's a 925-32621. And that rings, we answer it, and it's just like any other call. Whether you're using your data or you're using some other, well, it's the same, isn't it? At the end of the day, you get through, we want to hear from you. It's Monday, and I'll share with you that I was thinking that it wasn't Monday. I thought it was another day of the week, because becoming so accustomed to that 4-day week. Isn't that a good thing to have? Even if you're an employer. But the mind, like the machine, sometimes needs a little downtime. All right. What was on your mind? What was your weekend like? What were you up to? Well, call her and share. Make sure we're awake and alert and attentive. 949-8837, 949-6990, or toll free with the compliments of flow at 1-800-534-8255. There are indeed a lot of pressing issues. There are a lot of fingers that can be pointed at many of us, from the failures of the parent to the sometimes questioned behavior of our parliamentarians, not or as only in this jurisdiction, but globally. The question of the access to education and healthcare, the notion of the cost of living and housing. But are there other things that are not just, sort of human interest pieces that the media would share. You know, they feel good, but are there positive things that we can look at and draw inspiration? In the midst of all of the hurt, the harm, and the horrors, many of us, you know, may find harrowing. At the end of the day, though, there's some good. So what's good in your life? What is it that you want to complain about? What is it that motivates you or keeps you up late at night? You know, despite the wonderful meal that you may have consumed, there may be others who, you know, didn't have a morsel. Well, 949-837 or 949-6990. Let's take this call. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Sterling.
And to you, sir. Good to hear from you.
Yes, thank you. And to hear you all there. And a lot of good feedback with those young people. What has happened to us in Cayman is that we've forgotten that our islands have changed drastically in the last 40 years, especially the last 40 years. Drastically. We're no longer anything near what we were. And the Cayman that many of us who even in your late 50s and early 60s can still remember very well. And those of us in the 70s and remember very, very well. I know it's a very different Cayman. We were the majority at the time, say 50 years ago especially. And I'm talking about, when I say we, at all times, I mean generational indigenous Caymanians, whose parents, grandparents, so forth, and go right back, as many of us can, then to great-great-great-grandparents, so forth. It's a big difference. So things have changed. We have people who have come here who have no regard, I'm going to say it blatantly, or culture and our history and our heritage, and we find before this place was very clean. We know in our history books it's been mentioned by the British foreign officers and others who came here from in the late 1880s and early, how clean this island was always. So no, it's no longer like that in many places. Still, it's a lot better in many. But we have allowed people to just dump garbage and accept it. And we can't keep blaming the plastics for that. We know people need plastic bags for their garbage. They need it for their lunch to carry to work and so forth, and to put things in. There's no doubt about it. You can't put in a paper bag, especially things that are frozen and meat kind and on your lunch. That's no good. And we know that. And they have to put garbage in plastic. And poor people can only afford to have those little grocery bags and so forth. And not only poor people, even half poor, whatever you want to call it. Longer here. There's plenty of money here, so it's not a matter of money. Distribution is a bad problem because the wrong system of taxation. So we're paying for that. The thing with us about education and all this, we have to talk about education of life, not academic education. My poor dear mother always said there's no bigger fool than an educated fool, because they know very well how to be a better fool by being educated. And I've seen it many times, how naive very educated people are. We have changed. The place has been more or less controlled now by foreigners, very, very wealthy foreigners, very high-paid foreigners who work here and earning big money and so forth, have a powerful say in how the country is run and so forth. So things have evolved in a way that's not very, very beneficial to the Caymanians. And I say we again, we, those generational people. And it's hard to accept this. I listen to the police come on the radio for many times, and we can hardly blame them. And it makes us, the victims of crime, seem to be the villain. They're talking, close your windows, make sure close your windows, close up your car, don't leave this, don't leave that open. You have windows to be open, that's why you have a window, or you wall up your house, and so forth. And the message is saying, you know, as if you can't leave anything in your car. Yes, we can kind of understand that one. I don't fully accept that. It's your car. That's what you buy it for. Nobody is supposed to go in there, put their hand in the air. I walk past a person's car, see it open. I'm not going to stick my hand in their car. No, I'm not supposed to do that.
It's not yours.
The message should be, right, if you put your hand in somebody's windows open, try to get in, they may chop your hand off because they may have a machete. That's the message to the villains who would think of it, and those who come in with a gun and hold up places, and all that. The message we hear is no shots were fired, no one was injured. So I'm saying the villains got away, but they hadn't fired any shots. These villainous criminals, the criminals, and so forth. You know, stop treating them as if they're wayward children, and trying to deal with them as if in that kind. When you're looking for a wanted person who is armed and dangerous and so forth, say we're coming for you and we will take you in dead or alive. A simple message. So turn yourself in. Things like that, you know, will bring a better response. I believe on better faith in the public, you know, law enforcement. When we stop blaming our innocent victims for things, I'm telling you about, you know, you've got to secure your things better. Phone this one, phone that one. And if someone attempts to come into your place, run and leave it. And, oh, my God, you know, you mention to them that the person may be armed and have a licensed firearm, and they may kill you. So don't go in there. Deter the criminals. Start talking to them and speaking to them and warning them. Do not go into people's houses. Don't go into people's cars. You're walking by and you're hungry. Many of them are still getting some money from the government. Go and beg somebody for some money. They'll give it to you. Mostly they'll give it to you so you can buy food and so forth. And there are many times we can warn people about the litter. That's what's causing it. Plastic bags just don't get up and throw themselves on the beach. On the people are putting them there, and we see people doing that and throwing it on the wayside, and strict enforcement of the garbage laws and so forth, and the recycling program. We have different days for different things, and that's it. It can be done. It's been done in other places, much more populous than we are, and with less money when you think about it. But it can be done. I've seen it, so I know. And we have to start with a different mindset, And the traffic problem, we know, we cannot have everybody importing a car. That is wrong. It should be stopped, and immediately it can be stopped. People on a work permit should never be allowed to import a car, period. You can drive a car, have a car. That's very necessary for people on work permits, caretakers and people and so forth, and to have cars and people going to work. But no, not importing cars. No, that should be restricted just to the licensed retailers now, and very on a quota now, because there are too many cars. Have a wonderful day, sir. Have a wonderful day.
And to you, sir. Thank you for sharing. With that, we'll pause quickly and take a short break. Please rejoin us after.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
How can you make a classic BLT sandwich even better? Well, by adding tuna. The land meets the sea in Subway's new sandwich, the Tuna BLT, available for a limited time. The Tuna BLT is exploding with flavor. Imagine crispy, juicy bacon strips on top of tuna, fresh lettuce, and slices of tomato, topped with your favorite sauce and choice of freshly baked bread. Enjoy the best of both worlds with the Tuna BLT from Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our Custom Closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Backed by popular demand, the Department of Agriculture is hosting its 4-day home gardening course on Saturdays from the 6th to the 27th of May from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. This course is ideal for backyard farmers seeking to add value to their crops or individuals interested in starting or improving their garden at home. Seats are limited and the cost is $50 per person, so register today. Visit the DOA website, doa.gov.ky, or their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman to register.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It's another opportunity through a good, friends and family over at the Public Works Department to remind us of the importance of, training and instruction, of education and empowerment. And Dr. Ande Francis, thanks again for coming on board, man. I think it's becoming increasingly not just evident, but attractive to many of the importance of skills. Whether you a practicing surgeon, or whether you actually know what you're doing and you're under the hood of a car and you're making it run perfectly, or you're connecting the wires so that the Christmas lights are safe but also illuminated. Skills are important. Training is important. Applying those skills, but also encouraging and instructing others to take up, their role. It's crucial in every society, no matter the task at hand. Done with pride and done with a sense of competence. So thank you to you and your team over at Public Works. And as we look at these trades training, who knows what comes next. So good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us this afternoon.
All right. Could I ask, as I've asked, as you settle, you go around and maybe introduce our apprentices first, if you would, and
okay,
then we can ask, well, you can do the introduction to Mr. Stanford as well. All right.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone, and thanks for having us in studio this afternoon. In studio with me this afternoon, we have some apprentices, and of course, one of our key instructor. That's Mr. Tehran Stanford. He is one of our vocational instructor, and not the driver, not just the driver, right? And we have 2 apprentices. We have a level 1 apprentice. That's Caleb Davidson. He does electrical and air condition. And of course, Nicholas Chung, who does masonry and plumbing.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. And before we ask, Caleb and Nicholas to join us, I think they're on the idea that we have knowledge. Many of us have knowledge, but we're not always quite sure how to impart that. And with respect, sometimes we're not quite sure that the student is ready to be taught. And with anything. You're baking a bread, you can give the recipe, but you need to get your hands on. Not unlike plumbing, electrical, auto mechanics, even the physician, the hands-on training. From the perspective of an instructor and a driver, well, that joke is not going to get old at all. The idea of being able to take the theory and the practical and meld the two, so you capture the student's attention, you maintain the enthusiasm, but you give them the skill sets that they have a very lucrative, rewarding career. Not just a paycheck, but a sense of purpose. How do you do that? What do you do to ensure that happens?
Right. So you are correct in all that you said.
Oh, thank you. Can you say it loudly? Susan, record that.
So one of the methods that I particularly try to employ is constant practice. I really believe in learning by doing, and I think that one of the other methods I try to employ as well, which I think can be or has been a slight drawback to any education system, is a lack of application. So rather than just learning a skill and not knowing, or any concept as a matter of fact, and not knowing where it is going to be useful, so I try to blend application into all that I do. As I said, given constant practice, repetition, reinforcement, because learning by doing, I find that when you, and as you rightly said, most of us, I don't know that most people prefer to be just doing theory all the time, but actually trying to solve a problem or to build something that actually does the reinforcing for you. So the more often you do it, you can really get to see at the end, well, this is what you can do. You can build and put a lot of other concepts together to finally get an end product.
Dr. Francis, with that in mind, the idea, this is your second under competition, and you're talking about, with Nicholas level 3 and then Caleb being level 1. We're leveling up, right? So as we move, is level 1 more than level 3? Is level 3, and then what's the next level?
Okay, so the program, it's 3 stages. That you have level 1, you have level 2, and you have level 3. So level 1 is just really an introduction to the program, giving the trainee or the students the basic skills on which they would need to build. So if a trainee should exit the program at level 1, he or she would need a lot of supervision on the job. So we encourage them to move to the next level, which is level 2, which would give them far more application, far more knowledge, far more practice. And should they exit and go into the world of work at that point in time, they should be able to function under supervision. Then when they get to level 3, which is a bit more advanced, it's expected that once they complete level 3, they should be able to work under little or no supervision after completing the level 3 program. Bearing in mind that we also provide them with employability skills, which are very, very important in the world of work.
Okay. If I might through you speak to Nicholas first, not just one as level 3, but the idea that, we're seeing from your perspective, I won't tag too much on the fact of interaction in the past, but from a football player to this and melding the two, I can see similarities in terms of discipline approach. Whether you're the captain of the team or whether you're the striker, your teammates want you to be able to lead by example, train on time, go through the training. The coach would want the senior players to also be able to set example. Is that very similar, taking that student athlete approach to now, working in the field that you've chosen?
Good afternoon, everyone. It is quite similar in a sense from what Mrs. Stanford was saying. He's very stern on us.
Put that mic a little closer to you, Nicholas, please. Thank you, sir.
What Mrs. Stanford was saying, with his teaching skills, he's very stern on us, and he makes sure that we're always on par with everything. And with me doing football, graduating high school, attending university, I think Mrs. Stanford is up there with the teaching, and he's very on to us, and he makes us feel like we matter. And that goes for all of my teachers in particular, but Mrs. Stanford really emphasizes that.
Mhm.
And being in the program, it really is a different type of experience that I've ever had with
Okay.
football and school and stuff as well.
So as we get sort of, Caleb, comfortable, welcome, good afternoon, man.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. Tell me, if I may ask of you, so far, how's the program? Why did you choose it? How you finding it?
Program has been very good ever since I've started in September. All my instructors are very well versed in everything they teach me. I have no complaints, and what I really like from Public Works is that they treat you as if you're already working. You know, this is not school. This is a workplace. You come to work.
Okay.
So everything that we do, Mr. Stanford would be saying, like, is this how you would carry on if you went to another workplace?
Mm.
And if it's not, then it really makes us want to think more on our actions.
All right. We'll probably take the news break in a second. I'll ask you if you want to answer. If not, we can look at it when we come back. What made you want to do this? Did you know, both of you, that this is where you want to be? I mean, Nicholas is, masonry and plumbing, you electrical, right? Did you always want to get in that field?
To be honest, it was kind of an accident joining the program because I wanted to be an architect. But when I first got into the program, I realized how much I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly never thought that I would have made it this far because I had no type of knowledge in the construction field.
Mm-hmm.
But I have learned an unbelievable amount at Public Works, to be honest.
Good place to be, man.
For sure.
I share that. I think they produce, many a good person. What about you?
As for me, I've always wanted to do electrical. And when I came to Public Works, I found out I have to do 2 subjects. So immediately I saw AC, and AC is a great complementary course to electrical. So they have a lot in similar. So the reason I came to Public Works, I wanted to further my knowledge on electrical to make me more employable to electrical companies that are out there.
All right, so when we come back, Dr. Francis, talk about the upcoming competition, who's eligible, when it is, and the like. And if it's okay, Mr. Stanford, maybe we can ask more about not just the instruction, what it's like, to get more of us as parents and hopefully educators to be more encouraging and nurturing about our children, male or female. I know last time we were on, it was very impressive to see the team that we have, whether they're in masonry, whether they don't get into plumbing, electrical, AC. So what else is available? How do we access it? And talk about the competition. All right, we can do that.
Sure.
Hey, see what days are like when you pay attention? Glad my mama woke up this morning. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Brought to you by Tropical Plaza on Smith Road.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Police are advising that the white Honda BRV registration number 214047, which was reported stolen on Saturday morning, May 20th, has been located. The vehicle was abandoned on the roadway on Elgin Avenue near the Central Police Station shortly after 4 a.m. today. The driver appears to have fled from the vehicle on foot. The vehicle has been recovered and is being forensically processed as investigations into the theft of the vehicle and the preceding burglary continue. In international news, an Indiana man was killed and his 2 children injured after a hand grenade found in a grandfather's belongings exploded, say police. The blast happened on Saturday evening. Police believe someone pulled the pin on the device. Both teenagers were taken to hospital with shrapnel wounds. Their condition was unclear. A Chinese live streamer has died shortly after he was seen drinking excessive amounts of alcohol on China's version of TikTok. User Brother 3000 drank at least 7 bottles of baijiu spirits, a strong spirit that contains up to 60% alcohol, during a live stream last Tuesday. He was found dead 12 hours after his broadcast, Chinese media reported. His death, widely discussed on China's internet, has sparked calls for stronger regulation of the country's booming live streaming industry. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Brought to you by Tropical Plaza on Smith Road.
Man, this traffic pile up at Smith Road.
I so tired of this every day. Wait, what's that smell? That smell good. Ultra Lounge Jerk Stand, Tropical Plaza on Smith Road. Smells so good. Tastes so much better. Jerk menu available from 3 p.m. Pork, chicken, fried fish, steamed fish, conch soup, and so much more. You're stuck in traffic? You may as well make dinner tonight. Ultra delicious. The family will love you for it. Ultra Lounge Jerk Stand, Tropical Plaza on Smith Road. Smells so good. Tastes so much better. And Ultra Lounge is pleased to serve breakfast from 7 a.m. and lunch at 10 a.m. Things come up. That's life. But it doesn't mean I can't show up. From a runny nose, stubbed toes, to earache woes, headaches, backaches, and tummy aches. When things come up, Best Health Pharmacy over-the-counter solutions get you back in the game. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Edie's Decor. Best Health Pharmacy, your health, your convenience is their priority. Best Health Pharmacy also offers free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm always honored to be able to highlight any opportunity that focuses on education and training, and through our good friends over the Public Works Department. They got a construction trades training center. Dr. Ande, you are, they tell me, the center manager. I mean, it could be the center forward, the center back, but somebody got to be the manager. So it's you.
It is.
As we get into it and we talk more to Mr. Stanford and Caleb and Nicholas, how, in your mind, how instrumental is this to not just upskilling the populace, giving the requisite skill sets and sort of potential, if I might use the word, career opportunities? Because many people don't see that individual who wants to be the aspiring electrician or mason. That's a career. We seem to, again, perhaps assign labels. That's technical vocational training. You're a tradesman as opposed to a profession. Some of the smartest people I know, they can work on a car engine, they can pull down the AC system, they can, not just get your legs connected, but make sure it's safe. That's intelligence, market intelligence.
Well, a lot of people really don't understand what TVET is and the role of TVET in, should I say, national development.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at, for example, the medical field, the doctor, that's TVET at its best. That doctor is going inside that operating theater. He's using his hands, he's using knowledge and competence in order to make you well. But how many persons understand that that is TVET? So I think it's a matter of education, from where TVET is coming from, where the technical education department was perched at the back of the institution and the academic subjects were perched at the front. And we're expecting that the kids who would be placed in TVET are the persons who are not academically inclined. But those are the kids who are going to be your automotive technicians. Those are the kids that's going to be working at NASA to be sending those those aircraft into space. It's the best and the brightest. There's this little mantra that I normally go by, that education makes you trainable, but training makes you employable. So a lot of people don't understand that concept, that we're all educated in some ways, but then does it mean that because you are educated, you have the training required to carry out certain tasks? So one of the things we want to ensure at Public Works is that we provide young Caymanians with the knowledge, the skills, and the competence that is required to drive national development. In any economy, it is TVET that provides the core to drive development. If you look within the Cayman Islands, for example, you look at the construction sector, it's very booming. When you look at the automotive sector, it is TVET that is driving those kind of development. It is TVET that is driving the kind of investment that is required. So I think at this point in time in nation building, that more focus needs to be placed on technical education and not just the academic sphere.
And I don't want to belabor it, but I think it's just something that I'm on a personal level not only requiring greater edification, but maybe the point of understanding, so when I have public discussion or I try to impress upon, parents and policymakers and the teachers alike, that are we somehow looking at academics and the other instruction, and we're assigning labels that go beyond semantics, or in assigning the labels that we take away, as you shared, the woodworking area was tucked away at the back of the school, and there was almost students who were maligned that were over there.
Correct.
Yet those are fantastic skill sets. So is it then that when we say academic, somehow we're creating this perception and this labeling in our minds that it's not the smart children? Because to me, there's much more intelligent, as you shared.
Yes, it is. It has always been assigning labels because we're seeing white-collar jobs as the preferred choice. We're seeing parents who would have indicated to their kids that, listen, I don't want you to be a mechanic. That's something dirty. I don't need it to be a carpenter. I said to a lot of person in recent times that living in the Virgin Islands for a couple of years, when we went through Hurricane Irma and Maria, when we came out of that, it was technical vocational education that was the catalyst to drive the redevelopment. When you look at, for example, a simple thing as beauty services, the young ladies who have to go to the hairdresser to get their hair done, to get their nails done. When you look at, for example, the hotel industries, it is TVET at its best. If those core skills did not exist, then what kind of society would we live in? So I think it's kind of full time now that policymakers sit down and take a more collaborated approach as it relates to technical vocational education and not trying to segregate it from the academic areas, so as to ensure that at the end of the day both parents and students understand exactly what it is that TVET is. Right. When you look at our industry partners, the Andrew, the Phoenix, the Arch and Godfrey, and I could go on and on, they have always been coming to us to find skilled persons for their organization. They see the value of technical education.
Right. Before I again through you asked both Nicholas and Caleb before it, Mr. Stanford, from that idea of the instructor, and I really gratefully you shared, because I think the shift, as Dr. Ande shared, has to come from us, not just the general populace, but the parents in particular. The child is really intelligent, and we want a child to be a physician, a teacher, the best calling of all. But the child has an interest in auto mechanics, for instance, and out tinkering, with the bicycle and with the car engine, or likes to, pull down the circuitry and see how it works and go, oh, that sparks. But for some reason, we see that as, well, that's what you do if you can't do something else. When in fact, that's what you should be doing, because it requires a lot of intellect, if I can use that word. It's rewarding. From that perspective, your class, your teaching, what is that like that inspires these young, imaginative, creative minds, that keeps their interest and gives them the confidence, so that not only are they employable, but they're also rewarded, from the money perspective, but a sense of satisfaction, job well done. What's your class looking like?
Well, we, for the last 2 years or so, we would have increased enrollment to go to, I think, maybe about in the region of 50. So right now we've been more or less bombarded with applications. Had to turn away some persons because we were not able to accept all of them. So for example, I have a teach both plumbing and electrical, and all my classes are full. We're going to talk about the competition in a little bit, but the electrical aspect of the competition is highly subscribed. Could not even take any more persons, right? So following on from some of the things that you said earlier, we don't want parents to just see TVET as a second resort or a last resort, as a matter of fact. So then when parents, we wouldn't encourage parents to just go down to public works and learn a trade. You know, we would have come up hearing that as a youngster. Yes, you know, it is good to learn a trade, but at the same time, well, you didn't do anything, so just go down there and learn a trade, because this is now second or third class citizen you are suggesting. So all of those disciplines that Dr. Francis mentioned, those are also multiple intelligences as well. So you can excel the same persons who start learning masonry. If you are saying that that person is not intelligent, or the person that learned some carpentry, in a couple of years those same persons are designing skyscrapers and planes and so on. So you want to be encouraging persons to choose TVET or those skill areas as a first resort. I find that when students choose on their own, it gives them more value. It is more encouraging rather than some person choosing for them or sending them to an institution like ours to just pick up a subject just because they want to get them out of the house or to, you know, be employed.
All right, well, we're going to pause and go into the break. When we come back, I want to hear more about the competition, and I appreciate you sharing with us. Can the public attend? What is it like? Well, help us understand that. All right, please stay tuned and join us after the break.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Cayman Art Week brings you 5 days of art events and exhibitions from Tuesday the 30th of May to Saturday the 3rd of June, all free and open to the public. Visit galleries and studios anytime throughout the week or hop on one of the buses running guided tours around a different district each night. Don't miss this chance to explore Cayman's local art scene. Meet some of the artists or buy some art of your own. Check out what's happening each day, where the party's at, and how to catch a bus tour by visiting CaymanArtWeek.com.
Mommy, why can't dogs talk? Why do I have to go to school and you don't? Why do you sing in the morning when you're bad at it? Why don't you brush your teeth when you take me to school? Why doesn't it ever snow here? Why does Daddy take the bus to work? Why are trees so tall? Why don't you tell me where babies come from? Mommy? Mommy? Mommy?
We're like a kid that doesn't ask a million questions before noon. CG Britke. Good like that.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us. I'm trusting and praying that as not just as a general populace, but as parents in particular, because I think, Dr. Ande, from that perspective, it is us who are instrumental in the lives of our children, whether we're the teacher in the class, at whatever age and stage, or the parent in the home. What we say, how we say it. As we talk about the competition in a minute, if it's okay to speak to the apprentices first, Nicholas, we have passions as individuals, whether it's a sport, with just a passing hobby that we take seriously, like fishing and the like. But finding that calling, whether it's plumbing, electrical, whether we want to go into carpentry, or whether we want to be into dentistry, having that calling, that yearning, that desire for upskill, and then to make that our life. Two questions. How important is it that the school, the primary school, the middle school, the high school, those formative years, and the home help you to identify that, help you to sort of feel proud of pursuing that, and then how much is it within you, the individual, to push towards that? Nicholas, you first. The school and the home together, and then the individual.
Well, through school, I think it has taught me that theory-wise, I'm okay and I'm not the strongest, but I like to do things more practical.
You're hands-on, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And when I came to public works, everything was hands-on at the start. We have theory classes as well, but I definitely enjoy the practical work, like 100% more. Not just because I'm doing something, but I feel like I'm accomplishing something at the same time. And from home, a lot of my family, they are all carpenters. So I kind of grew up around it, so I knew that I kind of would have enjoyed it, but I wasn't sure with like having no experience with it. But I've learned like all different type of fields at public works, not just masonry and plumbing. I've learned some electrical from Mr. Stanford, and from Mr. Pedro, the carpenter teacher there. I have learned a lot of carpentry from him as well, and I enjoy all of it.
Before I ask Caleb to jump in, masonry and plumbing, for many, if you're looking on the construction site, the plumber puts down the roughing, the mason guy comes in, makes sure he pours the foundation, the pipes got to come up in the wall, and then the electrician comes on and chops it out. There's this overlap, but we don't see that they're as complementary as they are. So from your perspective, at level 3 apprentice, how complementary is the masonry and the plumbing? Do they compete, or can you do both?
It goes hand in hand for sure, because when you're a plumber, you have to lay down the pipes right in the right area for when the guy comes in, the mason comes in and pours the slabs. And if the pipes aren't in the right place, then it'll all fail. You don't want to come out of the wall. You don't want the drainage to there, so the floor is. And that's an appreciation for us who, maybe as the end users of the building, don't appreciate. Stanford, you want to jump in before I go to Caleb? All right. Thanks, man. Thank you, man. This is fun, man. Hopefully, as parents, we start to appreciate how important it is. So, Caleb, with that in mind, there are many of us who know what we want. We pursue that, whether we attain it or not, but it's our passion. And the home and the school, like I was asking, Nicholas, from your perspective, how important is that to help you as the student to realize your career goals?
I think it's very important, because it would be hard for anyone to operate while the home or the school is saying, well, you shouldn't be doing this, or this is below you or above you. It'd be hard for anyone to operate under those conditions. So I think it's almost detrimental or vital that the home or school back you up on whatever you feel like doing.
Well, I commend both of you and all of your other classmates and the like for pursuing your passion, for seeing the importance of what you're doing, to be rewarded for it, but also that you recognize that whether you are and I say this carefully, other than a teacher, there's probably no higher calling. But no matter what you do it with pride, you do it with the best of your ability, it can be rewarding, not just a paycheck, but what you get inside. So, with that in mind, Dr. Francis, what's important about the competition? When is it, and why is it important?
Okay, this is our second staging of the skills competition, and one of the things that we want to do is to just showcase the talent, the skills, the competence of the young people who are in the program, not just to their peers or persons who are employed, but to our industry partners and to the public at large. Interestingly, last year we had 4 young people who were employed directly by DART through the competition. So it's important to our industry partners as well, because they see it as an opportunity to recruit young people to take up key positions within their organization.
Right. So the competition next week.
Right, the competition is next week. The 30th and the 31st starts at 9 a.m. on both days, and it concludes with the prize giving ceremony on the 31st at 3 o'clock.
Okay. And now, what is the competition like? What is it, we're thinking about football, the day, a round robin. What is this competition like? So it starts at 9 a.m., goes to 1 each day, right?
Right. I mean, you spoke about like a sport round robin. In fact, we would have had a round robin session.
Yeah.
Because as Mr. Stanford indicated earlier, we would have wanted 3 competitors per skill. So for example, for electrical, we had about 6. So we had to had an elimination session just to get it down to 3 persons. For carpentry, for example, we had more persons applying as well. So we kind of had that round robin, that elimination session, where we had to get it down to 3 persons so as to ensure that the time span is enough for each person to compete on both days.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Because public will, why do you need to have it? But it's the kind of constraints, and we can talk about it another time. But so it's electrical, carpentry, masonry, air conditioning, plumbing. Is there another area?
No, those are the 5.
Those are the 5. So those are the 5. Tell us about each day and how the competition will unfold. What's going to be 3 in each category?
Right, there are 3 candidates in each category. We have external judges outside of public works that will come in to form a core of judges, 3 judges per skill area. There are different areas that are set up for each different skill. The public can come in. We are inviting the schools to come in as well. Last year we had a contingent from different schools that came in to see the young people at work, showcasing their skills, showcasing their craft in a competitive environment, but at the same time a friendly environment as well.
It's encouraging the party. Okay.
Correct.
If I might, and then of course, Dr. Francis, you can, Mr. Stanford, you are welcome to help us with it. I recognize the time, and I'm thinking back to competition, because we also are competitive, really competition. There's a quiz night. There's a brain teaser competition like how KPMG does with their brain bowl. We have robotics competitions. So in this, for electrical in particular, what is the 3 competitors? Are they going to build a circuitry and then light up the world and make a reflection of Susan? What are they doing in the competition? What is that going to be like?
Well, so as I would have been saying to Caleb earlier this morning, I always try to create scenarios. So I wouldn't say, for example, well, just connect a switch and a light. So I would give a scenario, for example. So a client has asked you to install a fan or something of the sort in your room. You're supposed to use these specifications to get this done, and they need to use all that they've learned, as we spoke about earlier, application, and to build this circuit. So the tools are provided, the materials, and they design the circuit according to their best knowledge.
So for extra credit and for them to really impress you, they could do wireless electricity. So that would be cool.
that would be great.
No pressure. No pressure, Caleb. Soon come.
Yep.
No, I say that because from what you're sharing, you're not just teaching the students in all of the 5 key areas how to just do the work, but to be creative, to be expressive, but at the end of the day, innovative.
Exactly. And those are the things that not just the judges, but as Dr. Francis rightly said, the persons, because there would be several, as we refer to, scouts from our industry partners would be there, they'd be looking on. So, you know, they would be looking to see who they can get in the next year or two to come to their company. So when they see this sort of creativity, this type of problem solving, that's what they want, and not just some person that, you know, just follow the book.
Well, to be absolutely respectful of time and of your guys' time as well, I'll ask both Caleb and Nicholas for some closing thoughts, and then Dr. Francis, maybe you can give the invitation, the final points. But Nicholas, you first. What would you say to some of your former classmates, students who are still in school, even the young person that's maybe out and not quite yet found his or her footing, you know, not quite sure, you know, what would you say to them, both of you? Come check this out. I mean, the open registration is coming up very shortly. This competition would be a good way to see what it's about. What words of encouragement and advice would you offer? Nicholas?
I've already introduced the program to some of my friends already to see if, like, that was their calling, because they weren't sure what they wanted to do already. But to some people who don't know what they want to do yet, and you feel you are a very hands-on person, I would suggest, like, not being afraid of what people think of doing something like this, for sure. If you enjoy what you do, and I would really say go for it.
Indeed. Caleb, what about you?
Yeah, I would say consider joining up if you think that you like working with your hands, any of that. Because I've already introduced the program to one of my friends, and I know, like, when time registration comes up, I'll ask Mr. Ande for a form, and I'll send it to him. But anyone who thinks that any of the 5 subjects that they teach here, if they think they'll like that, then yeah, definitely sign up.
I appreciate it, and thank you for, you know, not just your forthrightness, but the enthusiasm, because this is so encouraging, and I appreciate, you know, you doing it. With that though, Dr. Ande, the idea that you have registration, you know, when is it, who is eligible, and in closing, you know, you got the 5 years, do you get instruction in all 5? Can a person combine? Can they focus on just 1 or 2 or 3? All right.
Okay, thanks again. Well, recruitment starts on May 30th. In fact, this year it's online application, so there's no more paper-based, so we're rolling with the technology.
Aye.
So there's actually a website out that persons can just go on, and once they go on, the entire process is there in terms of how they can apply. This year, what we're using, there's an app that we're putting out as well, and once persons use that app to scan a QR code, it takes them right to the application form. Application is open to young people between the ages of 16 and 29 to be a part of the program. As indicated earlier, there are 5 skill areas. There's electrical, masonry, carpentry, plumbing, AC, and air condition. Normally we do 2 skills, electrical and AC, carpentry and plumbing, carpentry and masonry, but at the same time we are mindful that there are some young people who may not be able to manage both. So there's an opportunity for persons to take just 1 skill area. Along with that, all our candidates also do City and Guilds math and English between stage 1 and 3. And of course, very, very importantly, they take employability skills classes, which are those skills that will give them the requisite softer skills to prepare them for the world of work.
And the duration of the program, and you reference levels 1, 2, and 3, and then finally in the academic year. You know, we're accustomed to the child in school, August, September to June, July. So what is your academic year looking like? And then is it level 1 for 1 year, level 2, and then talk to us about that.
It's actually level 1 level per year. Level 1, it starts in September and it ends just around August. They really don't get the kind of holidays that kids in high school get because they are apprentices. They are in a learning work environment. So of course they'll get their public holidays, but outside of that, it's a full-time program where they are engaged both in theoretical classes, practical classes, and internship through a mentorship program that we have at Public Works.
And then, so first year level 1,
First
second
year
year level
one,
2.
second year level 2, and of course level 3. It's a management course at this point in time, where they are putting together all that they have learned between level 1 and level 2. They're getting into higher order skills, project management. So at the end of level 3, they should be able to take on a project and supervise that project from start to finish.
Okay. Well, I know I shared those thoughts you, but Mr. Stanford, if you want to add anything to that, sir.
Well, the one last thing that I would like to add, even though the skills that we mentioned earlier, plumbing, carpentry, masonry, AC, and electrical installation, recently we would have gotten a little taste. Persons like Nicholas, for example, would have gotten a little taste of some welding, and because gas welding is part of the plumbing course, and even though we are hoping to introduce a full program in welding very soon, even over the last couple of days, Nicholas would be able to tell you that just having their appetite whet in some gas welding, now we are seeing a whole great interest in welding, so that is, for right now, it's a subset of plumbing because it's part of the syllabus, but that's another skill that persons can develop within the plumbing area as well.
Well, it's a sign of, building a better skill set in our society, nation building we talk about, but ensuring that there is employment opportunities and we're meeting interests, whether in the tech sector, financial services, but across all gamuts. Thank you all very much. And to Caleb and Nicholas, please accept my public congratulations. It's just with great pride, man, that I look at you and see the interest. May you have continued reward and success. Octavio, to you and together with the driver, have a wonderful competition. And the Honorable Minister will be, I think most excited and enthused to come next week when he's at the final prize giving. So enjoy the rest of the week. And to our listeners, open registration as parents, let's tell our students, as teachers as well. Okay, until tomorrow, please join us for more Talk Today. Until now, call Susan and request another Jackson song. I got one in mind. Stay tuned for all we have to do. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Is where tradition never dies. This is your radio,